Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card with the 5 bells. I showed it on my blog the other day and it was really very well received, and as it uses one of my favourite techniques I thought I'd share it. The technique that I've used here is bleach. It's so easy and it's just so delightful because you never know quite what you're going to get. When I posted this on my blog the other day, I hadn't done anything on the inside, but I have finished it off by putting the holly in there now. Since I made this one where I used our copper, what do we call this? Copper trim, I think it is. I've made another one where I've used our jute twine, which I think looks a lot tidier than this squiggly bit. Whether I should have finished this off up here like I did here, I don't know. I might see if I can do that as I'm working through today's video. So I'm going to keep to the same colours. A lot of this I've already done in advance, but I will show you how I've done one of everything. Right, so to start off with, the card pieces you're going to need. Oh, by the way, this cardstock started life as Smokey Slate, and to show you that, these are another two that I did, okay, on Smokey Slate. I'll explain a bit about this when we get to the bleaching bit, but first of all let's do the cardstock. So you're going to need a card base that is Whisper White, and this measures 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored and folded at 4 1/8, or 21 by 14.5 centimeters, scored and folded at 10.5 centimeters. Then you'll need 2 pieces of copper foil that measure 4 inches by 5 5/8 inches, which is 10.25 by 14.25 centimeters. And then 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock, which measure 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/4 inches, which is 10 by 14 centimeters. Whatever colour cardstock you're going to use, you may want to do little tests on all the colours to see what it comes out as, but as I say, on both of these, although they look different colours, I used Smokey Slate, so that needs to be about 2 inches by 8 inches, which is 5 by 20.4 centimeters. You need some scrap for the holly, and for the sentiment I used very vanilla here. Although my card and the layers are white, I just felt that white here may have been a bit stark because of the creamy looking background here, and also the colours of the cards, something you may want to change. But I've used a piece of very vanilla, which is 1/2 inch by 2 1/4 inches, which is 1.2 by 5.6 centimeters, and a layer for that to go onto, which is 5/8 of an inch by 2 3/8 inches, which is 1.5 by 5.9 centimeters. Right, so the first thing that we'll do is we'll do the heat embossing first, because then we can get the bleach done. So I'm not actually going to use Smokey Slate as the experiment here. As I say, all of these come up different colours. In fact, let me show you these two that I did as well. This one here, this started life as basic grey. Okay, see the colour that one came out. And then this colour, which I think is rather attractive, this started life as Elegant Eggplant. Okay, so you really don't know what colour you're going to get until you actually do it. So because we know what Smokey Slate looks like, and I've already got my bells ready over there, just as a little bit of fun, I thought for this experiment I'm going to use real red. I'm still going to do everything else correctly, but I just thought that we could see what colour this comes up. I will still use my copper embossing powder. And what else do I need? Versamark, my embossing buddy, my bell stamp, and also my sentiment stamp. Now before I go any further, because I'm using 4 stamp sets, I'm going to tell you all 4 now. Chances are, as I work through, I will forget to tell you 1 or 2 of them. So the bell is coming from Seasonal Bells, and I'm using this one here. The holly that I'm going to be using, these little bits here, this is from Carols of Christmas. The sheet music at the back here, it's from Sheet Music Background Stamp. And the sentiment is from Star of Light, and it's this one here that I'm using. Okay, so they're the 4 stamp sets, so I don't have to worry about telling you about those now. And the only die that I'm using is for the holly, and that is from Card Front Builder, and it's that one there. In fact, let's take that one out now. In fact, I'll put that on the shelf in front of me. So if I forget what I've done with it, you can tell me, all right? Right, so let's move these out of the way first. And I will start off with my embossing buddy, do my red piece, and I'm going to do my sentiment as well. With my sentiment, what I've done is I have made sure that I've lined my stamp up correctly, absolutely straight. And the easy way of doing this is if you lay your stamp on your grid pad so that it's all straight, the bottom is lining up with one of these lines, and then you can put your block over the top of it and make sure that wherever you line it up, you remember how far away that is from a line up here. And then you will no, I don't mean that, do I? You don't need to remember which line, but where you stamp down on here on your paper, yes, still in the screen, as you're going down, once you've lined it up in there, you just need to make sure that this is straight with whichever line you can see. Then it should be perfect. That's the theory. Right, okay, so I have my Versamark. I have my stamp. Let's put that straight first. Let's bring it down a bit. Okay, so that's nice and straight. Did I do that with my embossing buddy? Don't know, but I have done now. Right, okay. Now I'm not going to get my head too far forward, so I'm going to line this up with one of the lines underneath. My block is lining up with one of the lines underneath here. Don't think that was particularly straight. In fact, it definitely doesn't look particularly straight. Yeah, that's okay. So I'll pop that on there. Now, what I'm going to do with the bell, I'm going to do 2. And one of them I'm going to put a lot of bleach on, and the other one I'm going to put less bleach on. You can tell on these which ones I've put a lot on and which one I haven't, because it comes through on the back. And what I have noticed, if you put the bleach on very thickly, it does spoil your heat embossing there. Let me see if I can show you. Can you see how it's gone rather matte, flat, as opposed to this one up here is really lovely, but the one down this end is definitely spoiled. Okay. but I just thought this would be a little bit of fun while we're doing this. We can check what happens here. Okay, so that's stamped. Bring a scrap of paper over for my embossing powder. And for my little sentiment, I should have a pair of tweezers here to hold that. There we go. You always want to keep a fine paintbrush with you so that you can brush any odd bits off. I think my Versamark pad needs re-inking. Still, we'll see how we get on. Okay, I'm not quite sure how copper embossing is going to come out on red. It really depends on what colour the red will change to. Alright. I'm going to have to use my heat tool for a little while, but it won't take too long, and I'm going to switch it on first for 10 seconds or so, just to keep to get it to warm up quickly, or at least to do the embossing quickly, so bear with me for a moment. There we go. Okay, so if I leave that with the tweezers, I shouldn't lose it, should I? Right, okay, so let's give this a try. Now here I have some ordinary household bleach, okay, not a lot. And I'm going to use one of our aqua painters. There's no water or anything in there. Apparently you can put the bleach in there if you want to, but I just feel that, you know, messing about like trying to get that to go in there, not something I want to do. It's easier just to pour it into a bowl and then empty the bowl afterwards. Oh, got it on here, never mind. Right, what I'm going to do is just paint inside the lines, and on one of them I'm going to do it heavy, and on the other side I'm going to do it light. Then I'm going to carry on and make my cards, and then at the end I'll bring it back to see how far it's got. Okay, so I'm just wetting the lid, the brush rather, and I'll do the heavy one first. You can also wet the brush head as well if you want to, just to help it spread more easily. And obviously that would help to dilute the bleach very slightly as well. Right, let's turn it round. Now when this gets punched out, we have a bell punch for it, it leaves a little bit of an edge all the way around, which personally I don't like, because it goes a oops, gone over the edge, because it will still be the red. This will be whatever colour, and I just think it looks a bit peculiar. Right, now I'm going to do the light one, and what I'm doing is I just dip my brush into my bleach, and then I wipe it off, and then I spread the bleach over. As you see, it does tend to disappear quite quickly. And I'm not going back to re-ink, or at least re-bleach my brush. You can see that this is still very wet. Right, now I'm going to do once more, wipe it off again, start from the top, and then come down again. There we go. Now on that one you haven't seen hardly any bleach at all, whereas that one you saw it really very shiny as I was doing it. Okay, so I'm going to put it over to one side now, and I'll bring it back towards the end. Now that, obviously that is bleach, and you don't want to be breathing in the fumes, and you don't want to keep it into a confined space either. Right, so I've done that. Now these, I'm going to show you what I do once the bleach is dried. Okay, so just straight into the punch. And then I just cut the edges off. You can cut the edges straight off. You don't need to punch it first. I just find that it's easy just having a little bit of cardstock there to cut off, and all I'm doing is I'm cutting around the outside of the gold embossing. That bit there I've cut really punched quite close, so that's nice, not too much to do there. And I don't worry too much about what I'm doing with the top of the bell, because that will more or less get covered up. And equally, I'm not bothered if you can see a little bit of the cardstock here. It's just I don't like a big chunk of it. If you want to be very precise, then you could use a very thin brush and put bleach round that little rim bit, not the bit in the middle, because we're going to punch that out. And I punch it out using a 1/8 of an inch handheld punch, and put it up the right way, and you can see exactly what you're doing. Just again, is it really necessary to do this? I don't know. It does get covered up, but I'd rather err on the side of caution, in as much as at least if I've punched it, if it does become exposed, it will show as a hole punched through. In fact, I didn't cut that very straight, did I? Let's cut that little bit off. There we go. Okay, so just cut out the hole there, punched out the hole there rather. Right, so that's that. So what we need to do next, I think, is if we do the front of the card first. Now this is the stamp. Beautiful stamp. I have to say, I am just so pleased with this. And what I'm going to do, because I stamp off first, I've got a scrap of paper here, and I'm going to stamp off first here, then I can turn it over and put it at the back, so I don't need it. I'm using Sahara Sand ink. So just ink that up. I'm going to turn it over onto my piece of paper. Give it a bit of a push. Bring it back up again. You see that? It's beautiful, isn't it? Really lovely. Right, okay, so do it that way round and that way. So I'm taking one of my layers of Whisper White and I'm going to lay it on top here, trying to make sure that I get the top in and the bottom in, but have it straight. So what I try and do is line this edge up down this straight line here. I don't worry about the, what I would call brackets. I'm not a musician, so if they've got a special name, sorry, I don't know. Anyway, fold that piece over and making sure that you hold this still with one hand, give this a push. Rub it all over. And once you've done that part, hold the other one and then do it over with the second hand. Okay. And there's our background. Isn't that lovely? I think that's just absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to get rid of that piece. I finished with this stamp, so let's pop it over here. I'm going to put it on here first. Let's turn that over, it's glaring a bit at me. I put my string round just the top layer, and I would have preferred to put it around the copper layer as well. So at least I'm remembering this time. And let's make sure I try and get this music up the right way. Which I think this is. There we go. Now I'm going to take some jute twine. Let me just get all my bits over first. In fact, what I ought to show you next is the holly, because then I can use that all at the same time. We know that I've got that. So, where's my scrap of paper? Where's my holly? Here we go. The way I do this, because I do love the fact that it's two colours, I use my marker pens, and this one is garden green, so I just paint the leaves first. Last night I sat and did 26 of these and then die cut them all out. Right, so that's those two. If you find that your marker pen goes on to the bit that you don't want it on, you can use our blender pens to remove it. Right, now the berries. Now when this is the first time of doing this, I tend to go back over it again, because I find that I get a better depth of colour. So that's that one. Let's just do the berries again as well. When I was working last night with 26 of them, I built up so much colour, just painting it once each time was enough, because it gradually had a build up on it. And then because this would have been drying while I'm talking, just huff on it, excuse me, and then stamp it down. Okay, and then you just need to die cut that out. I will do just one. Sometimes with these really small dies, they have a tendency to jump, and that is like that, and that is because the base of this, I don't know whether you can, yes you can see it, the base of this is made up of a lot of round magnets inside here. So because it's such a small piece, it jumps to the nearest circle. You just have to go with it. There we go, that's okay. Bring in the, oops, didn't see that was sticking out at the side. Let's try that again. Right. I know this might seem to be a lot of effort, bring the big shot over just to do one little thing like this, but it does remind me to explain about the small magnets and the small die cuts when the magnet, when the die jumps. Okay, so that's that. So I have over here, I'm going to show you my little tray with lots of them, and one extra now. So pop that back up there so I don't lose that one. Let's move the big shot out of the way, and one errant dimensional cover. Right, so we don't need that anymore. So I can work with these and this. I've shown you all of this. That can be adhered on. I think I'm really ready to rock and roll now, aren't I? So first of all, I'm going to put my jute on here. So you just need a piece that's about the length of your cardstock, which is 5 5/8 inches, and then if you remember which is the top, that's the top, and then if you turn it over, can you see this? Can you see my measurements? Don't think you can you? Yes, there you can. Right, okay. So what I do is 8 inches is the middle here. So I put this so that I've got 2 inches this side and 2 inches that side. And then I just put my jute twine there and adhere it down. So I need my tear and tape. That's what I'm going to use to hold this down. A pair of scissors. It does tear, but I prefer to cut it. So just put a little bit there on the 8 inches. If you want, if you're not going to pop this up, which I'm not, you can just flatten this out a bit. Okay, so that's on the 8 inches. I'll show you what I mean on this. Where's my card gone? Okay, so this is the one where I've made it go over and under. Can you see how? I don't think you can you? Can you see there's a little gap there as it's raised up? I think you probably can. It goes a bit dark from where I'm sitting. But if you don't like that look, then you can just pop all of this bit up on dimensionals, and then just turn this over again, and that's far too long. Let's cut a piece off there. and then line it up on your 6 inches and your 10 inches there. Just flattening mine out again. Take another piece of tear and tape. Right, make sure that's right. 6 and 10. Oh, I did say that I was going to try and tuck it under, didn't I? This is the easy option though, isn't it? I know it works like this. I think I'll stick with this. The thing is to tie under or knot it underneath. It's going to create a bulge, like I've got a bulge here, and I think I'd rather it be controlled underneath. Right, so can this go onto my card now? I think it can, can't it? So what I'm going to do is take the tear and tape backing off, and then I'm going to use Tombow, but you use whatever you like to use. Fast fuse would be good for this. But I do make sure that I put some over the jute as well. Right, now this is the bit to make sure I pay attention to make that I get the music up the right way. Right, as long as I've been paying attention all the way. I always thought those signs had to go up that way. Let me just check that with the front of the box. Yes, they should be going up the right way. Yep, okay, so which way is this opening? That's it. There we go, just give that a really good squeeze down. Right, now I've already put my dimensionals on the back of my bells. So what I do is, and I've also already punched all my holes out. Now what I need to be careful of, I've already put one together here so that I could use this, is so that the bells come down and I've still got room to put my Merry Christmas on there. So I just sort of put them on here, just to give me an idea. And then I start. It's just that I don't want these overlapping each other. Okay, they don't actually touch. But as you can see, I came too far down on this one and I went underneath here, and I would like to avoid that if I can. So let's see where we go. And what I do is I use my dimensionals, and where I'm going to put my first bell, which will be that one there, I use my paper piercer, I take a glue dot and I put it right underneath where that's going to go. Okay, so that will hold the jute down. Then I put another one on the back of the bell, and I take these off. But let's just put them all on there, then keep them all together. So I'm going to put this so that that glue dot there goes above where that glue dot is. Keep that round that way so that I can see where that's going to be going. And that one's down, so that's good. And I'm going to take another glue dot, decide where this one's going to be going. Okay, so it's just about there, which is just above the music lines. And make sure that as you're doing it that you're keeping your jute in a straight line. Then another glue dot on the back. Okay, take these dimensional backings off. You may decide that you just want to use 2 large dimensionals on the back. I did think about it, but decided against it in the end. Right, okay, so you've still got sticky there with the glue dot, but that's where we're going to be putting our holly. So the next glue dot, where this one is going to go, okay, so that's going to be about there. And have another glue dot on the back. Take the dimensionals off, the backings off rather. If you forget to put these, take these off before you put it down, it's not the end of the world. I know that from experience. Right, I think I could have done with that a bit higher. Never mind, I'm not going to try moving glue dots. Right, another one. Okay. This jute really is quite hairy. I'll take another one for the back of the back of the bell. This stamp set and the punch have both been brought forward from last year, which I'm really pleased with because I love this stamp set, and it's a stamp set that you can use all year round because 2 of the bells have been set so that they can be used for a wedding. There's a little stamp in this stamp set which says Mr. and Mrs. and that can be stamped inside the centre of the bells, which I thought was a very clever idea. Right, okay, so our last one, let's decide where we're having him. Yep, it looks as if I've avoided it this time, that's good. Let's see if we can move it up very slightly. Remind myself where that was going. Right. Well, that one didn't go down flat. Never mind. There we go. There it is. Oh, see what I mean? You don't have to take all the dimensional covers off before you put it down. It's just easier if you do. There we go. Right. Right, this was a spare one that I had left over. That's the one I've just done. So I'm going to be using this as it's all sorted. And I did come too low, look at that. Never mind. Anyway, so I'm going to pop this up. I've adhered the sentiment to the gold foil, which would have been that bit there. Okay, I will do it later because I will save that for another project. Okay, so I've glued that onto there. And I'm going to pop this on here with dimensionals. And I'm going to use 3 big ones. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one on either end and then I'm going to take one and cut it in half so that I've got room for the jute to go through it. Okay, one there and one there. Okay, oops. Now I'm going to plant that in the centre. Bring that over, it looks as if it's tending to go over to the side of it. And making sure that the gap down here is straight. Oops, straight. Right, there we go. And just hold that up to make sure. Yes, I think that's okay. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of my holly on, and what I do with the 4 in the corner is I'm going to use Tombow on those. So just a little bit. You can use your preferred glue if it's something like fast fuse. And then pop this in the corner, whichever way you like it to be. I like my leaves going up there rather than the berries first. I've also made some of these die cuts for the inside of my card, and the reason I've done that is because it just speeds up the video. It's a lot quicker for you to watch me glue those rather than actually paint them, huff on them, stamp them. Right, now 5 of these I'm going to put on here with glue dots, and what I'm doing with these this time is, let's just get rid of that bit, I'm going to take a glue dot for each of them and I'm going to roll it into a little sausage. Very, very gently, just roll a sausage and then put it lengthwise. Now most of the time, if I'm gentle with this, it doesn't give me a hard time. But sometimes it really tries to be the boss. But I have different ideas. Come on, let go. That's it. And then the last one. That's it. Good. Now with this, I tend to put my berries upwards. Okay, so I'm trying to get my sausage of a glue dot there to go onto the glue dot that's in there. And then I know it's adhered really nice and firmly. As I said earlier, it should be that you can't see that part of the bell, but because I have punched out the hole there, if it does show, it doesn't matter. Okay, so that's that bit. Then the last bit is to do the inside of the card, and inside there I'm going to adhere my white piece onto my copper layer. And then I'm going to put the 4 holly die cuts in each, one in each corner. I love this colour, this copper. I know a lot of people, when they're using such large pieces of foil, they do die cuts out of the foil before they use it as a layer. It's not something that I do. Right, now with these, I'm going to pop these in the corner. There we go, and I will just pop this on the inside of my card and then I'm done. Then I can show you what's been happening to the real red bells up there. Right, no right or wrong way with this one. There we go. So that's today's project. Colour's almost the same as previously. I'll get the other two in so that we can just compare that. Okay, so they're not dissimilar, are they? That one looks as if it's quite different, but maybe I just went heavy on that one or light on it, I'm not sure. It's quite shiny, so it looks like it was too light, if anything. That's why it's more grey. But isn't that a lovely technique? I hope you've enjoyed today's project. Oh, let me show you the red one. Okay, so that's the one that I went really heavy on. And that's the one nowhere near heavy. In fact, I've missed a bit in the centre there. But on the back, you can see where the heavy one has come through, and you can also see that this is still quite damp. And I don't know how long my video's taken. It must be a good half hour, I would think, so I imagine that must take about an hour to dry. But do give it a try. It's a lovely technique, and it's always fascinating to see what colour you finish up with as well. Many thanks for joining me today. If you have any comments or any questions, please leave them in the box below the video. I'm always happy to help you. If you would like to purchase any of the products that I featured here today, please click on the link in the box below, and that will take you straight to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop. In the box below also, I will list all the products that I've used here with the catalogue numbers and the sizes. And finally, if you've enjoyed my video and you'd like to be notified each time I upload a new one, which is normally Wednesdays and Sundays, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I understand now you also have to click another button to say that you would like to receive the notifications. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.